Let's do some color mixing today, creating a cozy cabin. You will need a brush, an eraser, and a blending palette for your paint. You may also want to draw or print out this cabin before you start painting. I will be using the primary colors to make the color brown. By mixing all three colors together, I'm going to create a brown. But here's the really interesting part. Depending on how much of each of the colors I add, I can make several different kinds of brown. Check this out. Notice that I keep my palette pretty nice and clean. I have my three primary colors so I can continue to grab little bits of them to make my mixed color. I don't take all of them and mix them all at once, otherwise I won't have the opportunity to change the variation of the brown that I'm making. Notice I don't need to rinse out my brush at all when I'm doing this activity. I can just use a paper towel to wipe it off if I want to get some of that color off in between mixing. I still have some primary colors. I'm going to mix some brighter colors, so I'm only going to choose 2 primary colors at a time. When I do that, I can make orange, purple, or green. I'm mixing a color that I can stamp with my eraser onto my cabin so far. As you can see, I'm taking my eraser, dabbing it into the paint, and then gently and carefully bringing it to my paper. I'm repeating this over and over to create a pattern that kind of looks like bricks on mine onto my cabin. When I move to the side of my building, I'm going to make sure that my bricks line up with the angle of my cabin, so you can see that they kind of go diagonal. I can even use this color to create a different pattern that kind of look like shingles. Notice I'm not worried about going outside of my lines at this point. With the remaining paints and the remaining space, I'm going to explore different colors. These colors will be used to create the details on my cabin later on. On a second piece of paper, I'm using the Art to Remember paper here. This is going to be my background. So I'm simply going to start out with a horizon line. A horizon line separates the sky and the ground. And as you can see, I have my primary colors again, but instead of mixing all 3 of them together to make these more muted colors, we're going to be mixing 2 at a time and create a nice, bright, bold background. As I was painting, I didn't take my brush and put it in any water. I love the blending of all the different colors, so you can see me just using that paper towel every once in a while to wipe off any paint that I don't want. I'm also really considering the texture that I'm adding onto this painting. I was having so much fun blending colors, and I had some paint left over that I grabbed one more piece of paper, just really creating some colors that I haven't had already so that I can use it for the details in the next step. All 3 pieces of paper are completely dry, and for this step I'll need a glue stick and a scissor. I will start by cutting out my cabin. Remember, I went outside of the lines a little bit. That's not a problem at all. I'm cutting those parts off. Oh, that looks so good. Now for the details. I'll go back to the pieces of paper that I painted and start cutting out some details that I want to put onto my house. Notice this window is square, but the side of the house that I'm adding it onto is kind of like a diamond or a rhombus. In fact, this shape right here is called a parallelogram. So I had to change the shape so that it fits the side of the house. Once all the parts of my building are cut out, all the details, I'm going to start gluing them down. This is the most important step to collage, making sure that there's no, well, I like to call them floppies. No parts of any of the paper comes off from the page at all. It's down nice and tight. Give the collage a lot of dry time after adding the glue. As you can see in this final artwork, I added a lot of details on the house, but also around the house. This is what makes it extra special. This art project is one of many lessons, free lessons on Art to Remember YouTube channel and website. Be sure to check the others out.